Welcome back, I'm Calvin, aka Statue Fanatic, here with another review. This is a review I am super excited to do. This is Marvel's Milestone Tomb of Dracula statue released way back in 2006. This statue was sculpted by the amazing Jean St. Jean. Jean is an incredible artist. I've reviewed a number of his pieces on my channel, and I've also had the pleasure of meeting him in San Diego at San Diego Comic-Con. Super cool guy. This sculpt of Dracula is based on the artwork of Gene Colan and Dracula's appearance in the Tomb of Dracula comic, which ran from 1972 to 1979. And as many of you comic aficionados know, out of that series, we got the Vampire Slayer Blade back in issue number 10. The comic was first released after the rules regarding horror comics were changed by the Comic Code Authority in 1971, which allowed Marvel to publish the Tomb of Dracula. Dracula has since appeared in a number of other Marvel titles and miniseries such as the X-Men, Blade, Spider-Man, way too many to count. This statue depicts Dracula in this very dramatic pose with his cape swirling around him as a large vampire bat flies behind him. Or maybe it's just a flash or an instant or a moment of time where we see the king of vampires transform from his vampire bat state into his humanoid form. Dracula is standing on a base that is covered in human remains, bones and skulls. You can see a number of creepy rodents sculpted into the various areas of the base, along with the comic logo, or the comic book logo, sculpted boldly in front of the base. The base is incredibly detailed. You have this staircase, and on the staircase, or on the stairs, there's this belt line there with knives that are sculpted into the belt, probably from one of his victims who came ill-equipped to take on the king of the undead, and unfortunately ended up meeting an untimely demise. There's also a lot of detail and sculpting in the platform of the base, and there is what appears to be a black mist lingering on the base, but as you move up the statue, you can see that same mist seems to be what the vampire bat has transformed out of. And speaking of this vampire bat, the detail is absolutely incredible. Check out how the smoke and the mist, or whatever that is, merges into the body, either constructing or deconstructing his form. The sculpting of the veins and the wings is awesome, not to mention how well his body and face are sculpting. The detailing is fantastic. The sculpt of the bat's face is simply terrifying, which brings me to the portrait of Dracula. His portrait seems to mirror that of the vampire bat, just in a different form. The detail in the portrait perfectly captures the bloodthirsty rage of Dracula. Check out how the cape swirls around his body. The motion and the flow it gives the diorama is amazing. The sculpt and detail in the cape is extremely impressive. Check out the folds and the creases in the cape and how it merges with the wings of the vampire bat as he transforms. This meticulous detail continues with the rest of the body. His hands are wrinkled and decrepit, with his fingernails sculpted to resemble sharp animal-like claws. The rest of his outfit is just as impressive. And as far as the paint application is concerned, this piece is beautifully painted. Keep in mind, this statue is 14 years old, and the paint is still nearly flawless in my opinion. Take a look at the paint on the base. I love the shading and how the paint application visually enhances the texturing in the base. Look at the yellowish green algae that's growing on the base and the skulls. The subtle shading on the base gives it a great deal of depth and dimension. The same is true with the shading on his suit, along with the folds and the creases of his cape. You have the same level of detail or attention to detail in the paint application on the wings of the bat. And I absolutely love how both the tongue and the eyes of both figures are painted blood red. I love how Dracula's entire portrait is painted. This statue continues to remind me of why I love this art form so much. I couldn't possibly put all of the cool things I love about this piece in a single review. It would simply be way too long. But for the fans of Dracula, I have no doubt you would love to have this piece in your collection. And with so many statues coming out at breakneck speeds, I thought it would be really cool to show some love to some of the really really amazing pieces that gave rise to this premium statue collecting hobby, and highlight what I consider to be a classic in my own collection. This Jean St. James sculpt is one of his best in my opinion, and is one of my all-time favorite pieces created by him. It's a very hard piece to find. It was limited to 1,000 pieces, and I'm really skeptical if there's that many that actually still exist. And get this was distributed by Diamond Select Toys, like I said, 14 years ago, back in 2006. And that will conclude my retro review of the Tomb of Dracula. And remember, my friends, to always collect what you like and not the hype. Until next time, my friends, be well, stay safe, peace.